So this is actually kind of my first time speaking in front of people ever. So I'm gonna tell you guys, has anybody ever read the book Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz? So in my early 20s, I had just gotten out of a 5.5-year relationship. I was in it from 16 to 21. I had gotten a new job at this amazing production office owned by John Madden. Commercials and all sorts of productions filmed there. So there was this guy named Doug Freeman. He was an art director. He looked like Rod Stewart. He had the hair and everything. And so he knew I was, and I had started dabbling. This was early 2000s. So I was on AOL dating, trying to find guys, to date. And he was like, you should really get to know yourself first. And I'm like, hey, Doug, sure. And so then the next time he came, he brought me 2 books. He bought me Profit, and then he brought me the Mastery of Love. So of course I skimmed through it. I was like, yeah, I wasn't really into self-help books. I didn't, I was in my early 20s. I was totally oblivious to anything about fixing myself. I just always thought I was sensitive. I was a crier, so, and I loved being in love. I loved being in relationships. I thought that if I wasn't with someone, that meant that I wasn't worth loving, or I wasn't worth being with, or I wasn't pretty enough. So I thought if I was always in relationships, no matter what kind of relationship it was, if it was good, if it was bad, as long as I was in one, I was worth something. So I read through this book, and the one that caught my eye is The Magical Kitchen, and that's the one I'm going to tell you today. So have you guys ever felt a hunger, a type of hunger, so intense and you could never satisfy it? So with The Magical Kitchen, I want you to imagine that you have a magical kitchen. You could get any food you want in any quantity, fresh ingredients, the best stuff, your favorites, in your kitchen. You can go and have it whenever you want. You can have it in any quantity, you can have little, you can have a lot. It's all the best, all your favorites. And you have so much you can share with others. People come into your kitchen, you're like, hey, eat, let's go. Yeah, pull up a chair, let's go. All right, now imagine someone comes to your door, and you have this amazing kitchen, by the way, and they go, hey, I got this pizza. And it's like, I don't know, bottom line pizza, probably like store-bought pizza, frozen pizza. And you're like, and they're like, you can have this pizza if you do whatever I want, if you let me control you, if you let me rule your life and do whatever I want, you can have this pizza. And you're just like, no, I'm good. No, I got this cool magical kitchen. It just makes me whatever I want. I can have the best pizza anywhere. Like, I'm good. You can come in and have some of my food. It's awesome. It's not that, but Now imagine your kitchen is empty. You have no food, nothing in your pantries, nothing in your cupboards. You haven't eaten in days, and you're absolutely starving. And that same person comes up to your door with this amazing pizza. It's hot, it's cheesy, it's got all your favorite toppings. And you're like, okay, it's not quite the crust you like, but whatever, you're starving, you're like, okay, I'm desperate, I want to have it, and it's so enticing. Imagine that person says, all right, now that you have this pizza, if you keep doing what I want, you can have it every day. But if you mess up, I'm gonna take it away. In fact, I might give my pizza over to this woman over here. You're like, no, that's my pizza. I'm starving. I need it. Like, what if it leaves? What if I don't have my pizza tomorrow? What if they give my pizza to that person, my pizza? And then you just become almost a slave to the need, the hunger that you have. Or if I wasn't in a relationship, I felt like I was not interesting enough, or pretty enough, or lovable enough. I overlapped my relationships. Because I thought that I was great at relationships. And when I felt one person pulling away, I would make sure I had someone waiting in the wings so I wasn't by myself. And it got to the point where I lowered and lowered my standards because I was so hungry for love. My standards got so low that it wasn't even, I just want them to be nice to me. It was just, I just want them to be with me, no matter what. So I thought the long string relationships was proof that I was great at love, but it was proof that I was scared to death of being alone. Once I got out of that relationship, I was like, okay, time to get back on the market. What do we got now? We got Tinder, we got Bumble, I went on everything. And I just put myself back out there. One of the first people that I dated was a guy with pizza, and his pizza was cold, it was moldy, it was just nasty. It had anchovies on it, pesto. It was like, and he told me it was the best pizza he has ever made, and everybody loves it, and his pizza is the best. And boy, he sold that pizza. So I was like, well, I guess I can learn to love pesto and anchovies. That's okay. And I found myself saying, well, that's okay that he doesn't do this, or that's okay that he doesn't support me, or that's okay he lied about the gym. That's okay. And I thought, no, it's not okay. It took me so long to get out of the relationship I was in before that I jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. I was like, what did I get myself into? Because I ignored every red flag. The person I was dating was telling me that I had a lot of issues and I needed to go see a therapist. And then he and I could have our relationship be better. I got myself better because I was broken. And in fact, he called me a broken little baby bird. And I was letting all these words into my heart. So when I started seeing this therapist, and I was telling him while I was there, and he said, so why do you think you always go for controlling men? Well, no, and I thought about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I always do, because I always wanted someone to take care of me, tell me what to do, tell me how to act, because it was just easier than getting it wrong, And here's the thing about starving. You don't ask if it's good for you. You don't check if it's what you need. You just eat, because anything feels better than being empty. Here's the problem with eating whatever shows up, whatever pizza shows up. It never fills you for long. And it leaves you hungrier than you were before, because you don't need pizza from others. You got your own pizza kitchen inside right here. I am still learning. If you allow yourself to be full of all the praise, all the love for yourself, it was so hard for me because I grew up with the belief that loving yourself was conceited. That meant you were full of yourself, and I was like, oh no, I'm not conceited. I will never be conceited. So the idea of loving myself was terrifying because it went against everything. And so I was able to get through my weight loss journey, everything through pain, because I had locked up the pantry, to my heart. And I wasn't allowing myself to get access to it because I thought pain would help me get through everything. I used pain to get me through my weight loss journey. I would tell myself the worst things to keep me going. It was hard because it worked, so I kept doing it, and I kept all the things people said, all the things the men had said about me, I would just reiterate to myself and say, see, they told you that. This is why you have to keep going. This is why you have to keep moving forward. But the pain is very, very damaging, and I would not recommend going that path. Because pain doesn't protect you. It just keeps you stuck where you are. Sometimes it's a good way to get started, using a little bit of pain to motivate you to get going, but you don't live in your pain cave. You know, you have to say, okay, I don't want to be that again. Let's be what we want to be. Let's move toward the person that you want to be. Really, the true key to self-love is forgiveness and grace. Because, I mean, how many people are having a hard time forgiving themselves for things that they did in the past? Anybody have any hard times forgiving yourself for anything that you did? Any mistakes you made? Anything you said? Anybody you dated? It's not just oh, I forgive myself. I'm great now. It's like you have to, every day you have to forgive yourself over and over again and just keep giving yourself grace for mistakes. It's building that self-love, building the respect for yourself, and you do that with showing up every day, showing up for yourself, getting yourself to your, to where you want to be, your goals, career, your weight loss journey, life, anything. And you just make a promise to yourself and you keep it. And that's how you just keep doing that. And that's how I built my self-esteem, is I just kept showing up for myself. Because pleasure is where the real power is. You don't just run away from what hurts, you run toward what lights you up. So once I did start to forgive myself, I unlocked the pantry. I can look at myself in the mirror and be like, you were good today. You did good. You were good. Come on, we're a team. Me, myself, and I. Like, we're like an awesome power team. Oh, we're a bitchin' power team. That's what I wrote down here. Once I unlocked my pantry, I realized how full it was. It was full of encouragement. It was full of everything. Think of all the things that people, the good, positive things people have told you in your life. That's all stored there. Just even if you can't find the words for yourself, reach in and find words that really kind, positive, moving words that people had said to you to get you motivated. It's so difficult to not default, because my default wasn't to blame others. For me, it was easier to take blame. It's my fault. It's something I did. I'm the reason why they're treating me this way. And that was so hard on my self-esteem, because my first instinct was to spare the person and to just absolutely tear myself apart inside. And I thought that was the nice thing to do. But so I'm still in the muck of it. So I love talking to you guys as I'm learning. But that was a big thing, is learning to forgive myself. So when I started gaining weight, just so easy, it felt like so easily, because I just did normal things. I watched TV and I ate. I don't know how I gained all my weight, but once I realized that I needed to take better care of my body, that was the start of the self-acceptance. Because even though I did use pain, I was still, every day I was meeting my calories. Every day I was going for a walk with my dog. Every day I was still doing that. Like I was building those little, I was building the confidence in myself, because I was keeping all the promises. It's just little promises that you make yourself a promise and you keep it. Just like you would, like I would keep a promise to Scarlett. That's sacred to me. It should be the most sacred promise is a promise you make to yourself. And you should do everything you can to keep it.
So my question is if I wanted to start unlocking my pantry within my own head, what would be my first step?
First, you need to figure out what your shadow side is. That was the big thing, was I could not figure out why I made the choices I made. And it was once I realized that I had to go back into my beliefs. So it was ultimately forgiveness. It was going into my shadow work, finding out why I would make the decisions in relationships or in decisions that would just wreck my self-esteem, because they were just bad decisions. I would fail. I would just tear myself up inside. But just working on just being kind to yourself and forgiving all mistakes, all of them. That's hard. So my big pattern was was I'm very reactive, and I've always been reactive. And my folks were different. I would have a bad I would have a bad reaction, and I would shut down or get angry, and my parents would go, all right, they would leave me alone, and I would just collect myself and come back. But you can't do that in everyday life. You need to learn how to control your reactions in the spot a lot of the time. And so when I wasn't given the space, I would start to spiral. It's complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It comes from either childhood or long time, like a long duration of trauma, like emotional abuse. I just saw everybody in relationships, and I saw my parents, and I just thought that that's what people did. They got with someone, and that was how they were able to be whole, was to be part of a couple. So when you're with someone for a long time, and I'm sure I actually probably had these before, because I picked up a lot of these red flags and carried them with me into my next relationships, because it was what I knew, how to react to things, you know. So I'll just keep wearing green. But anyway, so thank you guys.